Namaskar. My name is Babita Patnaik, and I'm an occupational therapist based in Missouri, US. As we celebrate the OT month in April, Sheila Ventures proudly presents a series of interviews with OTs. Let's talk about occupational therapy, is our topic. My guest today is Dana Carey, an OT who practices in school settings. Welcome to our show, Dana. Thank you for accepting my invitation.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello, hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi, today is the last day of the month and month of April, the OT month, and we've been doing a series of interviews, and I'm so excited to have you in the show. And today is the last day, actually, but then I said, no, I'm going to get her in.
I'm super excited to be on the show. I've never done a live before, so I'm definitely a little nervous, but yeah, really excited.
Uh, that's that's nice. It's going to be a fun program today. Please share your journey as an OT with our audience.
Yeah, so I graduated from OT school in 2017. And ever since then, I've been working with kids. So I've worked in early intervention, in the home setting with little babies like 0 to 3. I've worked in an outpatient clinic before. And I have most of my experience as a school based OT in San Diego, California. So yeah, a lot of experience working with kids.
So my first question is, how did you decide you want to do schools, OT practice in school?
You know, growing up as, like a young student, I always just liked being in schools. Like I always just personally as a student like did well in school. And so I knew that I wanted to be in a setting like that, surrounded by young people and helping them achieve their academic goals, just because that was something that I really enjoyed as a kid.
Thank you. So let me tell my audience how I came across your YouTube channel, which is called OTGuide. So as I was transitioning my job, and I have been a home health OT for a long time, and then I got a job in a school setting in West Plains, Missouri, and I was frantically looking for some quick, practical resource where I have a question and then I need an answer right away. So then I happened to come across your channel, and that's basically what I'm going to focus about, because that has helped as a peer, as an OT. It just gave me immense resource of what I needed to practice in the OT setting. So let's talk about your YouTube channel.
Aw, thank you. Yeah. That like seriously warms my heart because I struggle making the YouTube videos. Like it's a long process for me. And so when I hear people say, your channel really helps me as an OT or as a parent, like that motivates me to make more videos. So I'm really thankful that it's helped you. And I know that like when I started my channel, um, I just knew that there's like so much information that we have and that we can share with caregivers that would be helpful for them. And my goal was to make really just like quick and easy videos, like 3-minute long videos with just practical information so parents could just immediately implement some of the strategies that I suggest. So that's been the goal of it, just like quick videos either with information or activities you can do at home, to help with your child's development. So, and it also obviously features some resources for therapists as well, and so I'm so glad you came upon my channel.
Yes. So you just talked about the research-based practice that you do. So what really interested me in this, following your videos, was this research that talked about how, with practice, with accurate, successful practice, you can reinforce handwriting.
Mhm.
So, can you share that research with our audience? Because that's the one that got me hooked on to your channel.
Yeah.
Coming from India or many other countries, we were taught to write, practice, and do the right way.
Yeah.
So, in this day and age, a lot of our kids are getting away with it.
Yeah.
So, how does that get into doing the handwriting as an OT? We
Yeah.
help to identify and help the kids with that. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
It's definitely just motor learning theory. So like the more practice we have doing a skill, doing an activity that's challenging for us, the better we're going to get at it. And I think nowadays, like with our curriculum, we're kind of deviating a little bit from handwriting. Like kids aren't really like practicing the mechanics of handwriting so much in school anymore. And so that's what's leading to messy handwriting. And so, like, a very simple fix is just practicing the skill and providing explicit instruction on how to like form letters and how to handwrite. And it sounds sort of obvious. It sounds too simple, but it's really like what works. And I think I started when I first became an OT, like I really focused a lot more on like I sort of made it more complicated for myself. I focused a lot more on like the underlying skills, like let's build up hand strength, let's build up like visual perception, let's build up all these different skills so their handwriting gets better. But as I've grown as an OT, I've definitely become more top down, meaning I focus on the activity more. So now, instead of working so much on those underlying skills, I just practice explicit handwriting with my students. And yeah, that's what that research showed us. It showed us, like the more you practice, the better you get. And it sounds like common sense, but it's not. And I'm so glad that I read that article and I shared it because it's definitely changed my practice as an OT.
Thank you. So, my next question is a little bit more focused towards the sensory processing disorders, the kids with SI problems. So, when we are trying to do a handwriting, there's so many other things that we need to address, as you said. So, how does an OT decide whether they have to focus on getting them situated, as you said, the focus and concentration, being able to sit still, being able to follow the instructions. So
Mhm.
how how as a new OT, even though I've been practicing for 3 decades, when I switched my job, to me I was just like out of college, out of school, and I
Uh-huh.
I was bombarded with so much information, and I could not understand whether I should focus on visual motor integration or coordination, bilateral coordination or concentration, or
Mhm.
even just getting them to sit still. So
Completely.
what is your mantra to be able to deal with all these multi situations?
I totally understand your question because I have been there, and I every day when I'm working with kids, I have that question myself. Like, how am I going to get them to sit here and like let's work on handwriting? Something that's like not necessarily a fun activity even in the first place. And the approach I take that has really like led me um to be a little bit more effective with kids is to figure out what interests them. And if you can figure out what interests them, you can just run with that. So, like spending the first few sessions just building rapport with your students. And I mean, like being present with them and getting to know them, like what makes them tick? What are their favorite toys? What are their favorite games? And then from there, you build everything around that. So if their favorite game is Minecraft, your OT for the next year is going to be Minecraft themed. If their interests are Paw Patrol or some Disney movie, that's going to be the theme of your OT for the next year, and everything you do is going to be centered around that. And so with handwriting, that could mean like depending on the age of the student, that could mean they color in a picture of their favorite, I don't know, Paw Patrol character, and then we watch a 2-minute video clip on that Paw Patrol character, and then we write a sentence about that Paw Patrol character. So it's just figuring out like, what does this kid like to do? What are they motivated by? So that's how I get them to do work. I often frame it as, we're gonna play Paw Patrol. We're gonna go play Minecraft. And then that gets them like really into the session.
Thank you. And that brings me to ask you another question, which kind of is in line to what you are speaking. So, what are the skill sets needed to be an OT in school system? Because I had to revive my skill sets. As you said, you have to be kind of versatile, creative,
Yeah.
intuitive, and be with the trend. What's going on with the? So, is that what you would kind of sum up, or would you add a couple more?
I think what you just mentioned, all of those, like being creative, also like being current with like what's in with kids is huge. Like knowing what their favorite TV shows and video games are, that's huge. But I think an even more important skill set that's really important, that takes developing and experience, is honestly letting go. And like what I mean by that is, like when I first started as a school-based OT, I would get into a session and a lot of it was like me being kind of controlling. Like, this is what we're going to accomplish today. We're going to get through this, 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 and this. And like I had my whole like set of plans, and if the child couldn't self-regulate or we like couldn't get through it, it would put me in a tailspin. And so as I'm getting better at being an OT, I'm letting go of my plans more. So like I'm coming in with the idea that we're going to do like a Paw Patrol activity and we're going to work on all these skills. But like maybe my kid is having a really bad day and they look at me and, they're crying or they need a hug. I'm going to like put my lesson plan to the side. I'm going to sit there and we're just going to talk and I'm going to make them feel loved. And like beginner OT Dana, and I'm still a beginner, but like beginner OT Dana, like would be so type A and like so focused on my Paw Patrol lesson that I wouldn't be present enough to pick up on, oh, this child just like needs love right now. And as I'm getting better, I'm like calming down, being more present, and just like reading the room. I don't know if that answer made sense, but like that is a skill that I think OTs will get with experience.
And very well said about the emotional regulation, because I have been working with kids who are in self-contained classrooms, and recently when we had a situation where they had tornado drills and the fire drills, and I was working with a kid on balance issues, and then we had to stop. We had to hold them, just calm them down, as you said, letting go, which comes with experience. And to me, I still feel like I'm a new OT in school setting.
Yeah.
Learning these things, and for them to trust us, and for them, I think once that trust is established, and this was told by one of my friends who's been practicing in clinical based setting where she sees patients, and she told me that letting go and being in that moment and being a compassionate person, rather than this is my goal, you're going to write this many sentences, which we tend to do that because basically that's their goal. But as you said, Dana, letting go, and like an experienced OT, it is a journey which, when they come and hug you, it just makes you feel so good, because it's not how many sentences they wrote, it's how they acted in that particular moment.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the letting go piece is really something that takes experience, because this is also like a question that I've asked teachers. My husband's a teacher, and I've explained like my journey as an OT about control with him, and how, in the beginning, it was a lot of like sort of old school, like I'm in control. You're going to listen. We're going to get through my session. And he described for himself, like, as a new teacher, there's this similar process of like beginner teachers are that way too, where they want control. They feel like, I'm the teacher and you guys are the students and we're all going to listen. But as you gain experience, you let go, and there's more, you're conveying a message of trust and love with your students if you let go too, because it's like, no, I trust you're going to do the right thing if I'm not like on you all the time. So it's just interesting.
Okay, my next question to you is tell us the most challenging and the most rewarding experiences you've had as a pediatric OT.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that is a really good question. I think like the first experience that comes to mind is I was working with this young child. He was a first or second grader, and he had a really hard time self-regulating. You know, he was a very hyper, very impulsive student, um, the sweetest kid. But whenever I would work with him in my OT sessions, it was so hard to to get him to sit down and do the activities together. He would often like elope. He would say no. He would throw tantrums. And I had like several sessions that were just painful for both of us, like trying to figure out how am I going to work on these things with this child who's having a really hard time working with me. And it's not his fault, it's my fault. I just have to figure out how to make him tick. I just have to figure out like what's going to make him excited about working with me. And I started like talking with some of the other special education staff and figure out, you know, how do you work with him? What do you do? And it was the speech therapist who was like, Dana, he loves animals. Like this child is obsessed with animals. If you can talk about animals with him, like he's going to thrive in your sessions. So that's when it was like, oh, light bulb moment. So I made, you know, most of my OT sessions were just about animals going forward. It was like, let's watch a 2-minute video clip on the giraffe. Let's draw a picture of a giraffe. Let's write about it. Let's cut out a giraffe. And he just was so into it because he's so into animals. So I think that particular aha moment was really satisfying for me because I feel like, yeah, I did my job. I like learned what this child's interests were, and consequently, he enjoyed coming with me. It seems obvious, but it's not in the moment.
um, and you know, the interdisciplinary staff, as you mentioned, there's the teachers, the paraprofessionals. They are the key persons who give us so much information about the kids. And I like in 6 months, I have realized rather than me trying to do all these brainstorming, all I have to do is go to the teacher, ask them questions. It's so easy
Oh
to
my God.
find the strengths and the and as you said, once the kid develops the ability to trust, they are able to express what are their likes and strengths, and it goes and it helps both of us, the therapist and the child. So you know, the clinical the pediatric setting in a clinic compared to that in school setting, there is a huge difference. And there is a referral system with the IEPs and the physician orders. If you can just outline that for our audience who are thinking of going into
Their
schools,
process would be.
or yes, like what is the difference? What is the key difference? And how does the reimbursement work for schools? And just a basic outline of that, please. Thank you.
So school-based OT, the focus is much more narrow than like clinic OT. The focus is how can I help this child participate in their curriculum? So it's all academic OT. Usually that looks like helping a child self-regulate so they can sit calmly in class, or helping, like giving them writing strategies or working on their handwriting. Clinic-based OT, much broader, much more all-encompassing. And the focus is how can I help this child just participate in daily activities? So oftentimes like clinic-based OT focuses on like self-care. So getting dressed or feeding. So clinic OT, outpatient OT is just more holistic, and school-based OT is a little bit more focused on everything that relates to schools. And then the process for getting these types of OT, it's a little different. So if if you have a child that needs OT, the first thing you can do is you can go to your doctor or your child's pediatrician and mention your concerns, and your doctor would make a referral to an outpatient OT clinic. And then the next steps would be they do an evaluation on the child, and then they would determine if they need outpatient OT. For school-based OT, usually you would just go to your school's school psychologist or even the school secretary and just mention, hey, I have these concerns for my child, and then that would start a process, an OT evaluation, if one was necessitated.
Thank you. So let me ask you another question, which it's just a suggestion. Your 3 to 5 minute video clips that you have, like you take one problem, it's very clear and concise, and your videos are like boom, boom, it just doesn't waste too much time on fluff. It's basically, this is the problem, this is the solution, these are the options.
Yeah.
So for the betterment, or for many people to reach, especially multilingual. So have you ever thought of like using AI or just using something to change it into multiple languages, so that the reach is much more further down to the people who need the help?
Yes, that is definitely something that I've been thinking about lately. I do have people all over the world reaching out to me, so I've realized I definitely need to have more languages. It's sad that I only speak English, but I think with the recent developments in artificial intelligence, it won't be too hard in the near future to quickly translate all of my videos into different languages, so it's more accessible to everyone. That's definitely a personal goal of mine.
Okay. So as an OT, as a pediatric OT, how does Dana chill out, or how does she let go of her? How does she unwind? Because that's something I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
When I see 13 kids in a day, and then I come home, and I would like to know, how do you unwind, and what is the process of dealing with paperwork and this and that? There's so many things that comes into play with school.
Honestly, the more you do your job, the more efficient you'll become. So you're pretty new to school-based OT, so you're still learning how to be efficient with your time. You're still learning how to write reports quickly. I think I'm at this point where I'm pretty efficient with my time. So when I'm done with work, I don't have to come home and do more work. So that's really helpful. And then so that's just something you'll get with experience. You'll start getting quicker and quicker with things. And then personally for me, unwinding, I exercise, I spend time with my husband, I spend time with friends during the week. Those are kind of the way, I play video games, I watch movies, spend time with friends. I think unwinding is so important. Focusing on your own health is the most important thing, and your own happiness, definitely.
So since I practice yoga and meditation, so what is the role of breath work in kids with ADHD and autism's spectrum disorders? What do you think, and have you used those techniques?
I would love to make a video on that, because I feel like that's a really good topic. Breath work, breathing, meditation, these are evidence-based ways to help kids self-regulate. They're extremely effective, and usually in my OT sessions, before I start them off, we make a schedule, and I include I have this little rainbow breathing YouTube video that I found online. It's I don't know, maybe 3 minutes long, and we always start out with breathing and meditation. That's just to ground ourselves, self-regulate before we jump into our session. And then talking about how our body feels, how to calm our body down. These are all topics that I discuss with all of my students, not just the ones that have difficulties with attention. It's a really important skill for everybody on the planet,
including us as therapists. And I do practice that. And actually, I would just add that the breath that we practice is just buzzing like a bee, which it actually takes everything into your own self. So they kind of, they totally bring the attention to themselves. And after that, they sit down and do a task. And I have seen a lot of results. And actually, one of my kids, he would come in and like, can we practice that breath so that I can calm down? And, they start realizing, as you have said, the feedback and all these
Mm-hmm.
things that we teach them. um,
Mm-hmm.
Self-regulation, which is a big thing right now, is self-regulation in pretty
Yeah.
much um, all across the board. And what do you think about using tablets and laptops? And I know we talked about the handwriting, but then
Mhm.
how are we going to keep these skills when everything
Yeah.
is being taken away by the artificial intelligence? And how do we balance that? Do you think it is more needed for OTs to come in picture now more than what it was before because of that lack of not having that enough
Uh-huh.
opportunity to use your hands and feet and just doing everything that we do in our
Right.
practice?
It's hard to say. Like, yeah, there is generally a shift towards like using computers more, using tablets more. So what is the role, like what will the role of handwriting be? I mean, I think with all of this, with all of technology, we just need to make sure we have a balance like in our lives. And it starts with us. Like it starts with myself, having a balanced relationship with my phone and like social media. And then from there, if we are balanced, we can then lead by example and teach our children to be balanced. Because yeah, technology, artificial intelligence, like I have no way of predicting what this world is going to look like in the next 2 years, let alone 10 years, 15 years. But it's pretty crazy to think. And I think our role as OTs is definitely going to change. I don't know how it's going to change, and I don't know what it's going to look like. Maybe we totally shift from handwriting. I have no idea. But I know that as a society, we're all going to have to adapt.
Yes. So I will take this as an opportunity to thank one of my friends who's been my mentor, as I mentioned her earlier. Her name is Chandana Dash, and she's got 25 years of experience as a clinic-based OT who kind of mentored me through this transition. And then as I was still struggling with a lot of things which comes to people with experience naturally, I come across your videos, and that was it. And now it's life is really chill. I look up, I put up a topic and I see those videos, go and implement. And and then there is something called Tools to Grow.
Oh,
that
yeah.
that's one of the resources that one of my other co-worker had suggested. So is there any other resources that you would outline for our school-based OTs that you use?
Hmm. I think YouTube is just the place to go. Like Tools to Grow is a great one, but YouTube, there's so many like fantastic OT YouTubers. I have a friend, his name's Adam. He has an OT channel. It's called Adam the OT. Um, and it's great. He features really cool activities that OTs can use to help develop like different skills in children. YouTube is my go-to. If I have a question about anything, it could be OT stuff, it could be learning to play tennis, it could be whatever. I hop on YouTube and chances are there's a 5-minute video that explains exactly how to do everything. But my next suggestion would be to just ask, like to always have a beginner's mindset, to be curious, to be open to a new, better way, and just collaborate with your OT friends. Like hop on some, OT Facebook groups. There are zillions out there. Post your question on there. In 10 minutes, you're going to have 20 responses from different OTs who are going to have a lot of really useful advice. So just being open and asking around and checking the internet. Those are my biggest tips.
Thank you. And I would like to add a few things when we learned in OT school, when we were in school. If you remember, we did task analysis. I think that's what we are practicing now. Every task, as you said, the top-down approach, I thought that's a task analysis
Mhm.
frame of reference that you're using to see the kids. And many things like the reflex integration that we use. in pretty much every pediatric setting, knowing the reflexes. So I had to go back and review my reflexes, and it just, when you learn in college and then you apply that in real setting, and the intuitiveness is just, it's amazing when we see the results. So how does it feel like? I want you to express the sense of accomplishment that you have, through these years. How does it feel when a kid is able to overcome their challenge and then they do good in classroom situations?
Mhm. Honestly, like it feels amazing. I feel like I've helped this kid, along their life journey. I feel like I've been a friend to them. Um, the most I can do, like I can try the hardest I can as an OT. I can do all the research and try to figure out, OT treatments that are effective. But at the end of the day, like the most important thing I do, the biggest thing that will make a difference in this kid's life and their family's life is just to love them. Like that's the biggest thing I can do, and that's the most rewarding feeling in the world, because when you love other people, that's like the biggest expression of self-love.
Yes.
So I think like what we do is like very spiritual work. It's really like incredible. It gives us life purpose. So
Yes. So well said. So beautifully said. Would you like to end our session with a few lines about this whole journey, and just your
yeah,
experience in general, and then I would end it off with the
for
uh,
sure.
lines.
I don't have a ton to add, like after that. I think just being an OT is incredibly meaningful work. I think always be open to new ideas, always have a beginner's mindset, accept that you're never going to always know the best solution, and just be open to new, creative, sometimes weird ideas, and have fun. Have fun. And that's really it. But thank you so much for having me on the show. I've loved chatting with you. This has been an amazing conversation.
Thank you, Dana. It was very rewarding for me. Like, as an OTs, we are able to bring what we do in our fields and share with our people. And this video will be circulated amongst my friends in India, so people will get to know you. And I hope every one of the the persons who need OT for their kids, they can benefit from your YouTube channel, which I have had the opportunity to use, and it's very helpful. So I feel great that as an OT practicing for almost 3 decades, this is the least we can do for our profession, and spread it amongst all the people out there. There is help.
Yeah.
Um, and we try to do this on a day-to-day basis. And again, happy OT week, OT month. I'm sorry to you. This is the last day, but it's amazing because we get to meet in person. And thank you, Dana, and thank you for accepting right away. And thank you,
Yes, thank you.
thank you. We'll be in touch.
We'll be in
Take
touch.
care.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you.